The global economic apocalypse is happening. People have said Bitcoin is the safest way to hedge your money, and yet the price has viciously dropped over the last few days. Bitcoin enthusiasts seek to justify its drop by saying that the Plus token Ponzi scheme scammers dumped the price by selling $120 million in Bitcoin over the weekend. But is that the truth? Seems like quite the coincidence, doesn't it? World markets are plunging, a sickness is exploding, and oil is trying to make a bigger exit scam than the McDonald's Monopoly game. It is uncertain times, but I'm here to straighten it all out for you and tell you why a big Bitcoin bounce could be on the horizon. Let's get it. Hello and welcome to BitBoy Crypto, your one-stop shop for all things related to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I make videos on this channel almost every single day. If you like what you hear or see, then please make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell to turn on notifications so you get notified when I make new content. If you'd like to take the conversation even further, then please join my Telegram group, The Bit Squad. You can chat with me or ask me questions. All right, guys, today we're going to be talking about the global financial crisis we are finding ourselves in, what caused it, and what this actually means for Bitcoin. This is a big video with a lot to unpack, so I hope that you will stay with me until the end as I explain just how the darkest days for Bitcoin may be just what it needs to level up in the eyes of the world. So it has been very uncertain times. Talks of quarantines, travel bans, mortality rates, and economic failures have been dominating the headlines. Usually, people watch the news in the morning to check out the weather across their country's map. But people all across the world have been checking out maps for different reasons the last few weeks. They have done it out of fear as they try to figure out how the spread of a certain disease may affect them and their neighbors. It is scary times we are living in. I do have a second YouTube channel now where I'm giving daily updates on its spread, and that channel is actually probably going to outgrow this one in very short order. I've gotten 15,000 subscribers there, and the channel has been only open for 5 days. If you want to check that channel out, you can click above. Unfortunately, due to YouTube censorship, I can't give too much details about the outbreak on this channel because they are demonetizing any videos that discuss it, and even this video, I'm walking the border. But there is little doubt that globally, this is having a huge impact on our economies. Just yesterday, the Dow Jones had the 4th worst day in its entire history. But people are saying that this is simply due to an oil situation. I mean, how stupid can people be? If you think that we're in the midst of a global economic crisis and it's strictly due to oil prices plunging, then I have some oceanfront property in Kansas to sell you. Let me explain to you the oil situation and how it traces back to the ongoing outbreak. You see, there was a big OPEC meeting last week to discuss what to do about the global disease crisis. OPEC is, of course, the organization that oversees oil prices and exports. Russia is not actually a member of OPEC, but they did get invited to attend last week's meeting. The fact is, due to quarantines, the countries of China and South Korea have been consuming 20% less energy. People are not driving places, so OPEC met to discuss how to combat this. The way OPEC controls oil prices is by coordinating production with its members, and also countries that cooperate with OPEC, such as Russia. OPEC itself decided it would cut its production by 1 million barrels per day, while Russia agreed to cut production 500,000 barrels per day to help stabilize prices despite the dip in worldwide consumption. However, at the last minute, Russia announced it would not be following through with the terms of the deal. So now we have a battle brewing between Saudi Arabia and Russia to find out who is going to blink first. With the oil production plan not being actualized, this sent the prices of oil plunging around the world, which led to the huge stock market sell-off yesterday. Why did Russia do this? Well, most likely to hurt the United States. The lower prices of oil hurts the US shale industry. Another possibility is they might also be trying to steal some of the Asian oil market. But either way, this hurts the overall markets tremendously and is all traced back to the outbreak. We were told all of this should be good for Bitcoin. It's a hedge against these kinds of crazy market moves. And yet, we've seen Bitcoin plunging along with the rest of the markets. So maybe Bitcoin is not as safe of an asset as we hoped it would be. Is Bitcoin the same as the rest of the assets that are dipping? Well, the answer to that is yes and no. Yes, we have seen Bitcoin drop, but its biggest drop of over 10% is most likely due to the Plus token Ponzi scheme. While it does seem like an odd coincidence that this scheme is the reason for the drop, you have to admit, it does seem like an odd coincidence that this scheme is the reason for the drop when we see markets plunging pretty much globally. Why is Bitcoin the one asset whose plummet has been exacerbated by scammers? Doesn't it seem more likely that the drop is actually due to the global economic crisis? Well, not actually, and here is why. $120 million of Bitcoin was recently moved into a Bitcoin mixer to delete its history so the scammers could sell it off. There is no guaranteed proof or hard evidence that they flooded the market over the weekend, since we can no longer track their Bitcoin. But I believe this to be the case for virtually 100%. And once again, this traces back to the outbreak. You have to remember, the scammers are Chinese and at the epicenter of the outbreak and its explosion in February. The scammers sold off 13K BTC, which at the time was about $150 million in February at the peak of China's outbreak. I think it is almost exclusively what spurred on the initial drop below 10K. Bitcoin had a lot of momentum, but when you look at the timing of the beginning of Bitcoin's plunge, it lines up with the increase of fears and cases in China. Now, think about what has occurred over the last week. We've now gone from a Chinese and Asian crisis to a world crisis, as people are getting sick all over the world at alarming rates. It's very obvious that this is going to have a huge effect on the world's economy. The Plus token scammers are very aware of this. The BTC was placed into the mixer over the weekend in anticipation of a recession and a global market collapse. And you have to admit, while they are scammers, it was certainly a good move to try to sell off Bitcoin before Monday. As we mentioned, it was the fourth biggest sell-off in history at the stock exchange. It's just very unfortunate that our space is constantly infiltrated by scammers because now you see the detrimental effects of their behavior and actions. I can make a pretty good argument, I believe, that once again, Plus token is the culprit for the price sinking below 10K for the second time in 9 months. But here's the great news. The run-up we had since January was certainly not due to the Plus token Ponzi scheme like last year's run-up was. It was authentic, and we had real momentum and real volume. This has certainly hurt the short-term prospects of the price of Bitcoin, but overall, it's great long-term for this bull run. Wouldn't you rather have Plus token dump their Bitcoin at the beginning of the run instead of 6 months from now when that $120 million in Bitcoin could be worth, who knows, $1 billion? But the really worrisome thing right now is for Ethereum. The scammers have 800,000 ETH in a wallet, and that has not budged. This is why it's so important that these scammers are brought to justice. Once they are, then hopefully this madness will end. Because until that happens, the Plus token scammers can continue to sell off their crypto and open up 100x shorts when they dump. So they're basically making money when they're dumping, giving them an unlimited supply at this point. While transparency and privacy is at the core of cryptocurrency, you certainly see the downside of those ideals when you have scammers in control of so much crypto, 1% of the supply. I've painted a bleak picture for the future of Bitcoin. But is it so dark? The truth is that while the scammers have a large amount of crypto, they aren't the majority of crypto holders. So when the volume and momentum gets strong enough, the price can bust through their selling points. So how do we get there? Well, one path could be for the mainstream average person to realize the value in having an asset that is less attached to the movements of traditional markets. And this future recession and crisis could be just the thing to do it. Bitcoin was created by Satoshi in 2009 as a reaction to the 2008 financial crisis. But to borrow a quote I read on Twitter, but I can't find it now, safety hedges aren't born in a financial crisis. They rise out of them. So just as Satoshi created Bitcoin in 2009 out of a crisis, it could also be a financial crisis that spurs on its adoption. And the Plus token scammers are trying to get in the way of that. We should all be praying that they eventually get apprehended, and I do think there's actually a chance of that. The good news is that different than faceless hackers that are all over the space, we actually have the names and info on the perpetrators. So it's likely one day they do get caught as long as people still care to investigate it. But now it's your turn. Do you believe that the financial crisis could help Bitcoin, or do you think adoption is just a pipe dream at this point? I can certainly see both sides of that argument, but I want to know where you stand. So please let me know by dropping a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to smash the like button and hit subscribe in order to become a member of the fastest growing community in crypto, the Bit Squad. Thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed day. BitBoy out.